Hey guys, welcome. So thank you for watching and checking out the shorts and checking out the channel. This is Irene here, your single Christian girl. I put up a short, Jonathan McReynolds recently kind of came out with his new album. So people are talking about him for that. I also think that I saw he was on a podcast. And the couple on there where they were interviewing him was asking about waiting till marriage for kissing. And he said he doesn't know if he would take it that far. He doesn't know if he wants to wait in that aspect. And the clip that I shared with you guys came from an interview he did with Lecrae a little while back. And I think that's when he came out with his book. But Lecrae basically was asking him, why is he not married? And I felt a tinge of regret when he was giving his answer. I believe this young man still has plenty of time. He's only 36. Many men do marry a little bit older in life because maybe they feel like they're more ready and more settled. But he was saying, if he was younger, when his wife came into his life, whoever his wife is supposed to be, that, it would have been better because now he's got his focus more on his music and, how God is using him in that arena. He says he feels like he's accomplished so much more because he's been solo and he doesn't have the family dynamic in which he has to definitely put that as his priority. And it almost sounds like he's used to being alone. He's used to doing this thing solo, at least in the romance department, the family, the marriage department. Even though I did hear a tinge of regret at the beginning, he's like, if it would have happened when I was younger, but because it didn't, I kind of put all my focus into this one thing, the ministry that God had for me when it comes to music. And then he started talking about how that's almost like his baby. And he likens it to young ladies that may have children, and when they meet someone that they have to factor that in. How are they going to connect with the children? How are they going to work with the children? And, just looking out for that element, which is very important. So his ministry, his music, and that's his baby. He wants to make sure that his person is going to work well within that dynamic. And I could assume many different things, such as, the long work hours and all of this. Will that person be able to deal with that? Is that person the type of person that... Because, I do see some couples where the partner, you don't barely see the husband or the wife or their spouse. Maybe they don't deal well in public scenarios. Maybe there's jealousy factors of them working with certain people. I mean, you are dealing with two Christian people, hopefully. So it seems like the issues may not be the same as any other couple, but still, whatever issue that person has, it could definitely put a damper on whatever you're doing, your ministry, your job. Because, especially if you're writing, you're trying to listen to God and he's giving you these things and that person is a distraction. I mean, that's a possibility, but I find that you can also, during those times of being with another person and that person's issues and you guys trying to figure it out, that's probably the best writing material you can have as well when you're in the middle of a situation where you're unsure, unclear, you don't know. God can really give you some beautiful music, some beautiful messages during times of challenges. And, we have our own solo life challenges, but in a couple situations, you're going to have your life challenges. And I think that you can probably get some pretty good music out of that, because many times the world, let me name drop Taylor Swift. She had all her relationships and she definitely put the tea out on all of her music. But in a Christian scenario, you're not going to be that. You're not going to do it that way. Now, maybe you do have a dating history and you can use that. But, if you get married, I'm sure there's a lot of great material you can use there. You're not going to break up. That's not the goal if you're a Christian. So you're going to just keep using different material with your spouse in mind. And is your spouse comfortable with that as well? Just a few different things to think about if you're in the scenario or in the position of Jonathan McReynolds, or just in a scenario where your career has kind of become your person, your child, and it's very important to you that you don't mess this thing up. Public persona is very important in the music industry, whether Christian or not. So that's definitely going to take a toll on some level. And I know him being a young man that is, very talented, attractive. I know that we're dealing with a lot of Christian women that are listening, Christian men that are listening, and maybe some people that are unsure of what their belief system is. There may be, just like when Justin Bieber got married, that's not the same parallel, but there were people that were upset at his new marriage, and then there are people that were supportive. So you're going to get that type of scenario as well. I don't know if Justin lost fans after he got married, but definitely I'm sure the dynamic changed. And as you age and you get into different seasons of your life, your fans are going to change as well. Most of the time, the fans that grew up with you, they'll stay with you. So that whole dynamic is just going to change anyway as you get older and you're in the music world or entertainment. The dynamics are going to change. But I thought this was just an interesting thing to look into, an interesting question to pose to everyone. Why aren't you married? And many of us get that question. If you're 30 plus, you're going to get that question. And when I was in my 20s and 25, I was like, hey, I should be married. I was really hard on myself. And I think a lot of young people are they're just like, I'm an old maid. You're 25. Seriously, a lot of the people that are around were younger than me. So I didn't even want to share my age. So I did feel, I guess, a little older in that group that I was in, but still, I just think I was hard on myself and you have more time than you think. And as a woman, maybe your childbearing years is not the same. Definitely men have more time in that scenario, but don't be so hard on yourself. Your life might end up being more about your career and focus. You might be career ministry focused, wherever God leads you, versus family focused. And that's okay too. It's okay to be in these different scenarios. And it makes me think of Paul, where he said it's better than to be single. He said it's better to marry than to burn with passion. But if you can be single and give your life to the Lord, give that time you would give to the partner, give that to the Lord. And that's your family and that's your work. So maybe that's Jonathan McReynolds' story. Maybe he is not to marry, but maybe it's just not the season for him to marry. Hey, he might marry down the line in his 40s or 50s or something like that. It's all objective, or should I say subjective, one of those, to God's plan. So how do you see yourself? Do you feel like in some level, I feel like he's more career driven. If the right person came along, he may have taken a different path. But are you more career driven and not really concerned about the romantic aspect in your life? Or are you, because sometimes we're in those seasons where, this is what I'm focused on. And then as life goes on, seasons change, you might say, oh, I think I want this now, or I want to focus more in this different area. So it can all be about seasons of your life. And for some people, that is their life. They don't change paths. They may think about it, but they may continue within just focusing on family, or focusing more on family than career, or just focusing on career alone. And that's going to be their life trajectory. As a single Christian girl, I do feel like for me, it's a little more pressure to be in the family way, to be a wife. It's a little bit more desirable for us versus men, and especially younger men. They kind of want to be out there and explore and all of that. And a Christian man can do that properly. He doesn't have to bed every woman. He can meet and talk to women and not play games with their heart or play with them, but just have different experiences and just be upfront and open in what his goal is. As long as he has a goal and he's not just going from one thing to the next with no goal in mind and no desire for marriage. I mean, if that's your situation, then just be upfront about it. But men, they kind of want time to explore. In a way, I feel like they have more options than we do as women. It seems like we have less and less options, to be honest with you, especially as time goes on and we get older. So for a woman, this question could be a little bit more challenging. And for me, it's like, hey, people are asking you, why aren't you married at a certain age? And they kind of put the issue on you. Is something wrong with you and all of that? I feel like men don't get those questions. It's like somewhat a double standard. Now, if the guy's 50, 60, then he might get that question. But if he's still in his 30s, they're not going to really ask you, hey, what's wrong with you? In the Christian world, it can be a bit different because expectations of marriage may be a little bit younger than the average. But still, just don't feel like Christian men get as much pressure as Christian women of a certain age to start families, be married, and also feel like God put something in us women to want to nurture, to want to have that family environment so that we can procreate and make good homes. So maybe that's something that God put in us. So what are your thoughts when it comes to that? Is there a double standard when they ask us as women, why aren't you married, versus when they ask men? Just something to think about. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And are you more driven toward career, or are you more driven towards romance, or what season are you in at this time? Feel free to share. Thoughts, comments, and questions are always welcome. This is Irene, single Christian girl, and I'll talk to you guys next time. You guys can email me at cbizmedia1@gmail.com. And check us out on Prayers Up Club. Check out my prayer podcast, A Prayer for Every Season. You can go to iheart.com and look up the Prayers Up Club. Thank you for your support. Thank you for liking, subscribing, watching the videos, all your comments. I really appreciate the support. And I'll talk to you guys next time. All the best and God bless.